Good morning, afternoon, or evening, you cyber sleuths out there. My name is Brett, and today I'm going to go through the difference between a public CA and a private CA.
What's the difference?
So before we can really discern what the main difference is between these two types of CAs, it's really important for us to define what each of them is individually. So with that being said, what exactly is a public CA? So a public CA is a trusted third party that meets the requirements of popular certificate stores. Think of a Microsoft, an Apple, or a Mozilla. Because of this, it is automatically trusted by your device's operating system. There's no need to register it because the CA is automatically trusted without any individual interference, which is really nice. Additionally, public CAs are mainly used for public-facing sites such as our very own Ketos.io. So now that we have a better understanding of what exactly a public CA is, it's also important to understand how to request one. Now, unfortunately, there are just way too many methods and way too little time in this video alone to go over every single method of requesting a public CA. However, as a broader understanding of how to request one, your organization must prove the domain ownership to the issuing or subordinate CA. And in that way, the CA can act as an authority, hence the name Certificate Authority. Now, a great example of requesting a public CA would be getting your driver's license. And if you don't want to take my word for it, you can always take our good friend Olivia Rodrigo's. The driver's license example goes as follows. If you want to get your driver's license, you have to go to the DMV and give them certain documents like your passport, your birth certificate, stuff like that to prove your identity to them. The DMV will take those documents that you give them and use them to prove that you really are who you say you are. And once they can prove this, they will give you your driver's license, also known as a public certificate in this example. Now that you have this license, you can use it without needing anything else to prove your identity. Let's say it's a Friday night, you just got off work, you're tired, you want to go hang out with some friends, have a few drinks, you go to the bar. Bouncer asks for your ID, you give them your driver's license, and they can take that driver's license and assume that the DMV did their due diligence in proving your identity. So that means that the bouncer can take your driver's license as proof of your identity without needing anything like that passport or birth certificate. In this way, the license serves as a public CA, and the process of going to the DMV serves as the process of requesting a public CA. Hope that helps clear it up. And that wraps up the basics of understanding a public CA. So now let's move on to what a private CA is. Now, a private CA is something that is generated internally by the organization. And unlike a public CA, it is not automatically trusted. In order to be trusted by devices, the certificate chain must be pushed to all devices by group policy, MDM, or manual installation. Additionally, a private CA is mainly used for internal certificates where that cert will never have to be validated by any external party. Now, one of the coolest things you can use a private certificate authority for is authentication. Now, there are multiple different methods and forms of authentication. I'm going to go through them all with you now really quickly. First things first, we have internal site authentication, in which case a private CA will let you authenticate that the server you're connecting to is a valid server that has passed the issuance requirements set by your organization and established an encrypted connection, which is really important. Additionally, you can use private CAs for application authentication, and these private CAs will allow you to conduct subject name validation, which, if you weren't aware, is where you would check the subject name to match a specific value, such as the ID or application name, and that it has been issued by a trusted authority. Enabling subject-based authentication will allow your code to authenticate the application based on the root of trust, allowing for shorter certificate validity periods while also preventing outages by a poorly rotated certificate. This kind of authentication at scale has become incredibly more important with the growth of IoT, where you might have millions upon millions of devices, making it near impossible to manually keep track of their certificate life cycles. Additionally, you can use private CAs for user authentication. User authentication, of course, is the best way to create unphishable credentials, which is a massive boon to your security. This works by using a certificate authority trusted by Active Directory to issue the user a certificate containing the user's UPN, allowing the user to easily authenticate to resources without needing to remember these long, complex, annoying passwords, all while protecting the user's identity via cryptographic-based authentication. And lastly, you have device authentication. One of the main uses of private CAs is to issue internal authentication certificates for users and devices for device authentication into VPNs and Wi-Fi. These certificates are usually issued by mobile device management tools such as Intune. And now, it's finally time for the main event. We know what a public CA is, we know what a private CA is, but now we're left with that age-old question. What's the difference? And that difference between public and private CAs, the key one, comes down to one simple word: trust. That's right, that's the key difference. The key difference between a public CA and a private CA is that all computers and browsers trust public CAs, whereas private CAs need to be explicitly added by the IT administrator. But of course, this doesn't mean that one type of CA is inherently better than the other one. It entirely depends on your individual use case. Some cases might call for only public CAs, others might call for private. That does not mean that one is superior to the other. If you would like to read an accompanying blog post about the same exact topic with some more detail in there, check out the description of this video for a link to our blog on the difference between public and private CAs. For now, though, I'd like to thank you so much for taking the time to check out our video and our channel. We hope you learned something new along the way, and we wish you the best of luck on your PKI journey.